CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.
The British High Commissioner to Cameroon and the Prime Minister Joseph John Gute have been exchanging views on the ravages of the killer pandemic and in the UK and Cameroon, with the British diplomat announcing a financial support of 1 billion CFA francs to support Cameroon in the ongoing fight. Despite all the warnings and dissuasions from the government, Cameroonians still continue to shun the barrier measures against COVID-19, especially following the recent other measures relaxing the restrictions in some other sectors. The Limbe deep sea port may soon become a reality following the approval of the status by the President of the Republic, announcing a milestone for the development of the erstwhile region of West Cameroon. Those are our top stories. Hello, welcome to the program. I am Ben Meno Pufong. The British High Commissioner to Cameroon, Rowan James Laxton, says his country has donated a financial package of over 1 billion CFA francs to support Cameroon's ongoing efforts against COVID-19. He was speaking in Yaoundé this evening after an audience with Prime Minister Joseph John Gute. Both parties also discussed security and economic issues, as well as plans to repatriate British nationals blocked in Cameroon since the closure of the country's airspace. Sisako Tamko reports from the Star Building.
British support for health in the country in the midst of the COVID pandemic was at the center of talks between Prime Minister John Gute and High Commissioner James Rowan Laxton. As one of the largest donors in the international response to the pandemic, investing £744 million through G20, the British government also recently backed up Cameroon's third file at the IMF isn't access to the rapid credit facility to the tune of $266 million in Cameroon.
It means support for health facilities primarily through UNICEF in the first instance. We're looking at more, but I was delighted to inform the Prime Minister just now that we have made a small contribution to the Pasteur Institute, which will enable Minsante's efforts to decentralize testing across the country.
The encounter was an opportunity for the Prime Minister to explain government's response to the pandemic under the stewardship of the head of state.
At the same time, the Prime Minister explained to me very clearly his approach, the balance. The Prime Minister explained to me very clearly his rationale and the way in which he is following the situation very closely across government to calibrate and to adjust according to developments.
Security situation in the country, the need for reconstruction in the northwest and southwest regions, the need to protect British current and future investments to develop the economy, as well as plans to repatriate British nationals stranded in the country was also discussed. The British government is also postponing the Conference of State Parties on climate change initially to hold in Glasgow at the end of the year, although ambition to set targets to reduce greenhouse emissions remains the same.
There is something definitely wrong with Cameroonians, despite all the warnings and assurances that the relaxation by the government of some of the barrier measures is not in any way an announcement of the end of the coronavirus. Many still continue to live in blissful deceit, believing that by holding the low on some of these measures is an announcement, a tacit one for that cause, of the end of the COVID-19, which is still very alive. Overloading is back in taxis and other township commuters. Face masks have suddenly disappeared from people's faces. Hand sanitizers are begging for purchases, and very few are still washing their hands with soap and running water before entering into public places. Cynthia Sabtala now rings the warning bell, saying COVID-19 is still very present today, like it was yesterday and even before the softening of the barrier measures.
It may be urgent to remind those individuals that disregard social distancing, go about without face masks, and care less about maintaining good hand-washing practices that the coronavirus continues to spread. A warning that drivers in Yaoundé must take seriously, especially those who overload vehicles with passengers.
On drive at the surcharge because they are sea route free. Me, I know the surcharge because I follow the way Minister for Transport. Some person, they look if you control no day route. Here, for example, there were a few on board without a face mask and no worries.
It's not really a worry.
You're not wearing your own mask?
No, actually, I have a mask. It's not the fact that I'm not wearing my mask.
Passengers, they come with the mask, but if I say now all you the NZ say they put the mask. If you no talk, no passenger know to put the mask.
In other places in the heart of town, more and more people were out and about without protective measures, prizing personal freedom at the expense of public good.
Staying inside is not really easy. And when you go out, you look for what you can eat.
It's your own mask.
I'm not scared.
In taxis, some wear the face mask, while others don't. I have the impression people are becoming more and more negligent.
But the global figures on the coronavirus are real. As of date, about 4 million have been infected, while over 250,000 individuals have lost their lives. What health experts have been saying is that it is social distancing, government's restrictions coupled with sanitary measures that have slowed the spread of the virus. They caution that the continuous negligence from the population may see these numbers go up.
With the health crisis, the barrier measures prescribed by experts remain the same for all. However, some inhabitants are sticking on how to apply them, sticking more on how to apply them than others. For example, in some households, besides the usual hand washing and use of disinfectants, they also apply disinfectants on appliances and doorknobs on a daily basis so as to ward off any embarrassments. Beatrice Ngum followed 3 families very much infatuated with the application of prescribed personal hygiene and barrier measures, and now reports.
These are the gestures that can make a difference in this time of COVID-19. In the Njingwa's home, attention is given to details. COVID-19 cannot pass through the door. Talk less of seeking refuge. In the news, vigilance has been doubled in this home.
I've intensified hygienic measures in my house. We also use hand sanitizers like this one here. It is placed in my sitting room. We use the hand sanitizer. We hand sanitize our hands. We clean the door handles at least 3 times in a day because those are the spots that people touch very often in the house. And we have learned that it can keep the virus for a long time.
Elsewhere in the Ntanga's family, the routine is observed. The kids are sensitized on the barrier measures, though physical distancing with the dots remains a major worry.
With my baby, it's complicated. He cannot understand. He wants to embrace people, and when you push him back, he begins to cry.
Zealots in this time of COVID-19 are many. Frederic Bandong is one of them.
Personally, I double my vigilance because 9 people have died with this pandemic. The pandemic has already reached community stage, and we have to take care.
At home, he has equipped himself to spray the virus off his path.
I do not receive visitors anymore at home. Before entering the house, you leave outside shoes, and inside the house you are going to find shoes to use interior of the house. Main clothes have been remain outside too. And every morning we have to clean all switch and door handles with a bleach solution.
The clichés speak of themselves. Many are becoming more conscious of COVID-19 threats and are therefore not relenting in their fight to contain the spread.
Living with the coronavirus pandemic is also part of the daily routine of persons with disabilities. In addition to the challenges they face as a result of their infirmity, Many must adapt to WHO and government-prescribed measures for their safety and the safety of others. At the Young Rehabilitated Center for the Visually Impaired in Ekye here in Yaoundé, the protective measures are fully being implemented, as you tell us, Beatrice Goom, in this report.
Barrier measures to COVID-19 are leaving none indifferent. Even persons with disabilities die of the virus, so observing preventive measures is not an option.
At the entrance, and you can notice we have a bucket with water, so someone cannot come in without washing the hand.
Like every other person, life for persons with disabilities has changed. Their outings are fewer today, but if they must go out, then they must keep to the rules medics advise.
The government, especially the Ministry of Public Health, has provided with daily press briefings somebody who interprets this message to them by using the sign symbol. If they are using any item, these items respect basic hygiene, where they have to be clean, they have to be well washed. When once they need to get out of their premises, they need to put on a face mask, and once in the community, they try as much as possible to respect physical distancing while with their masks on.
Barrier measures are the same for everyone, irrespective of whether they've got a disability or not.
I have some interesting experience. When we went to Center of Persons with Disabilities at Etugbe, there was somebody there indicating where to wash hands.
They also have their daily hurdles to deal with.
We heard that there are some posters to sensitize the people about this pandemic, but we cannot be aware of it because we cannot read all what is written. We really need the government to get involved and to transcribe this document and send it to the land. That will be very interesting.
Persons with disabilities make up about 15% of the population, and their cry is that they should be given a special consideration for the sake of their disability.
12 new cases of the COVID-19 have been detected in the North region of Cameroon. This information was made public to CRTV reporters by the North Regional Delegate for Public Health, Dr. Jamilatu Liala, who said stringent measures are being taken to curb the spread of the virus in the region. In the meantime, the COVID-19 treatment centers in Garwa, at the Garwa Regional Hospital, they continue to provide required care as work plans continue to be implemented on a routine basis. Details with Wilson Mengale in Garwa.
The North region, according to health officials, so far has 12 cases of COVID-19 disease. As measures are being intensified to check its spread, officials say all is being done to make sure that COVID-19 treatment and management centers are fully functional. The low-cost housing site in Bokle, Garwa 3 subdivision, and the Rundia Dzeomi Sports Stadium are among the sites choosing to host the COVID-19 centers.
Actually, in our region, we have 12 cases of coronavirus. The center of Rundia can take care 100 patients, and the center beside hospital can take care 28 patients.
The construction of emergency and reanimation units is also underway at the premises of the Garwa Regional Hospital. It is worth mentioning that the North Regional Delegation of Public Health has placed an order for medical ambulances for intervention at all times.
Entrepreneurs and other business communities are still fathoming how the 19 measures recently announced by the government will actually contribute in getting them out of the economic quagmire the barrier measures had plunged the economy into. Though the pandemic continues to claim lives and affect more people, the business world believes the government could still dare more concessions that could spare the nation from incurring financial losses that could run into billions of CFTA francs. Luma Slim Davis explains how.
The COVID-19 scare could very well be outlined as medicinal or sanitary, but its effect on the economy, trade and social sectors is broad and damaging. Government's response to tackle these effects is a package of 19 support measures to relieve the concerned sectors and boost the economy. These support measures will make government lose 114 billion CFA francs in revenue. The concerned sectors are transport, hotel and catering sectors, that is, trade in general. Amongst these measures are the suspension for the second quarter of 2020 of general accounting audits, except in cases of suspected tax evasion, exemption of the withholding tax and cancelled taxes. The 5.4% projected growth is certainly unrealistic, with revenue dropping to less than 2%. A barrel of petroleum product that sells for $54 in October 2019 has dropped to $30. While revenue has dropped to almost zero, a mechanism is, however, envisaged to deal with the crisis.
Lemon and honey have witnessed an increase in sales in markets since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. Dietitians say the combination of both can protect one against bacterial, viral infection and even contribute in the COVID-19 healing process. Gerald Nanji Eyambe is our man on the beat in Act 3 of our running series.
Lemon and other citrus products are in high demand in the markets today, owing to their medicinal property in the fight against viral infections and other bacteria.
The scarcity of lemon in the markets today is due to low production because some use it in the fabrication of medicines against COVID-19. This makes it expensive too.
It is a good drug against cough and even the much talked about COVID-19. We do a mixture with some local products like aloe vera and other herbs.
It's our father that needs to come every morning. He needs to take a task before going to work.
Honey and lemon are said to be complementary in the COVID-19 healing process. Traders in these products are making bricks business.
Prices have not increased since the outbreak of COVID-19, but sales have increased. Since movement has been restricted, suppliers have increased the prices at which they sell to us.
Experts recommend the use but caution on the administration.
A combination of lemon and honey protects one against bacteria and viral infections. It also strengthens our immune systems to fight against diseases.
This justifies that the curative effect of these products to humanity ailments cannot be overemphasized.
The people of Kongsamba 1 in the Mungu division of the Littoral region have thanked President Paul Biya for his timely support in the fight against the COVID-19. This was during an official ceremony to distribute this special presidential relief package made up of soap, buckets and other hand sanitizers, amongst others. Details with Bonaventure Ate.
Faced with the huge impact of the coronavirus, the municipality has chosen the preventive option. The presidential relief package comes as a booster to initiatives by the Kongsamba 1 Council to bar the way for the pandemic.
This is not the first time that the head of state is coming to the rescue of his people in difficult moments.
The consignment that include cartons of soap, buckets and disinfectants were distributed during an official ceremony chaired by the senior divisional officer for Mungo. Priority is given to the aging and vulnerable population as the local and public authorities continue preaching the respect of social distancing and hand washing as mandatory and healthy habits.
The people of Tonga in the Ndé division of the West region have received their own share of the presidential package to strengthen measures against the coronavirus. Upon reception, the senior divisional officer for Ndé, Francois Etape, called on the population to use them wisely and shun practices that would jeopardize the government's initiative. Constantine Baum is just back from Tonga.
Tonga is one of the subdivisions in the West region that has not recorded any COVID-19 case. The subdivision situated in the division continues to work hard to bar the virus from hitting the division. This presidential package made up of buckets, cartons of soap and face masks comes to strengthen the subdivision's efforts in the coronavirus fight.
We need people, men and women with strength and good health in order to participate to the development of our country.
We want to thank the head of state for his gesture, and we promise to continue sensitizing our community to stay safe.
The local authorities recently observed that a cross-section of the population resorted to drinking, disregarding the social distancing recommendations as if COVID-19 had been conquered. The people were called upon to reconsider their decision, as there is the urgent need for everyone to protect themselves and be safe or perish, as just one COVID case brought into the division comes with devastating consequences. Therefore, the entire community has to play an active role in the COVID-19 fight.
We now head to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center for an update on the COVID-19 pandemic, where our reporter Gilbert Ongene is on standby. Hello, Gilbert Ongene. Can you tell us what is the latest out there as we hear that 2 new cases of recoveries have again been recorded? Hello, Gilbert Ongene. Can you tell us what is the latest out there as we hear that 2 new cases of recoveries have again been recorded?
Absolutely, Ben Menopufong. 2 new cases of recovery from the COVID-19 in Cameroon today, and 2 other cases of contamination. Those are the figures that emerged from the press briefing that took place a while ago here at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Figures which pushes the doctor who did the press briefing, that's Dr. Etundi Mbala, Alain George, to conclude that the situation of the COVID-19 in Cameroon is getting stable. The past days is getting stable, and he has reiterated the fact that the barrier measures put in place by the authorities be respected to the letter. The coronavirus has not yet ended, and people out there should watch out, because they've noticed that some people are relenting their efforts in the respect of these barrier measures put in place by government, especially in public transport and other public places. And the advice is that people should go out when it's really absolutely necessary. They shouldn't just go out anytime, anyhow. We have our guest tonight, like in the past days, is Dr. Eric Tanzi, who is, of course, a public health expert. Good evening, doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Gilbert.
We're talking tonight about the fear that has gripped some Cameroonians as concerns contamination to the COVID-19. Some people are afraid to go to hospitals suddenly, even when they have ordinary disease, because they are for fear that they could be contaminated. What is your take on that?
Yeah, Gilbert, you are very right. You know, when we have a new pandemic, especially the COVID-19, it is but normal that the population needs to be worried and have fear, because hospital milieu is where they receive patients and they are being treated. But that is a misinformation, because this is a center where people need to be treated. Health facilities are where people need to be treated. But sensitization is a key rule. They need to understand that COVID-19 is not deadly like they think, and I think they have been having results of recoveries, and people don't need to scare away from health facilities because of COVID-19. So everyone needs to continue with other routine health checks in health facilities.
Especially as we know that the other illnesses that affect Cameroonians have not disappeared, and the patients of the COVID-19 are quarantined.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we still have malaria and other diseases that are leading cause of death within our communities. So the population should make sure that they should not hesitate to visit these health facilities, because first, all COVID-19 cases are being isolated and put under control or care for any eventuality. But other diseases are still very, very deadly, more than COVID-19.
Now, let's remain with health institutions. Let's move to the rural areas. We know that there are specialized hospitals in Yaoundé, Douala, Bafoussam, and some regional headquarters which are in charge of taking care of COVID-19 cases. What about district hospitals in rural areas? What happens to people who go there?
It is important to note here that not all health facilities have the capabilities of handling COVID-19 cases, but to tell you, some district hospitals have these capabilities and they are not left out. And again, even in some areas, there are services that have been provided. Like I will quote the example, like the district hospital in Bangui, that is not capable of handling such cases. There is our partners, technical partners like Médecins Sans Frontières, that is assisting with ambulances to convey some of these patients to the regional hospital where there is a treatment center. So all measures have been taken and mapped out as far as these health facilities are concerned. People in the community don't need to be worried. They just need to contact a health professional or a health facility and they will be taken care of.
Now, is it mandatory, is it obligatory for a patient who comes to a health institution to be systematically screened for COVID-19 in Cameroon?
Yeah, you might be right, but we've not come out definitely on that, because not all cases that visit the hospital are asymptomatic or symptomatic. So like I mentioned during the beginning, that we still have other cases, other health issues that are more worrisome, more than COVID-19. So we still continue, hospitals still continue with routine checks. That is why you saw the Minister of Public Health yesterday went to some of these health facilities to check out, to see if routine checkups are going on, not only on COVID-19. So it is not in all cases where COVID-19 needs to be screened. At least there is a preliminary checkup that needs to be done before they can proceed to that.
To sum it all, what is the message you have for people who are scared of going to hospitals at this particular moment of the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, the population needs to know that we have other deadly diseases, and they shouldn't stay at home when you have issues. You should not be stigmatized. You shouldn't be worried. You shouldn't be panicked, because the information is there and clear to all the population. So don't hesitate. Don't stay at home because you have an health issue. Get to the hospital. Again, hospital facilities are well trained. Now they have come up with procedure where safety and sensitization is a major trend. You can even go to the hospital and discover more things that will help you with your health issue, and there should be no panic as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
Thank you very much indeed. That's our health expert. On the third year is Eric Tanzi, who is a public health expert, of course. And then the watchword here and the take-home message is that there are 2 new cases of contamination and 2 new cases of recovery from the COVID-19. And we have crossed the 2 months. We are into 2 months since the first case of the COVID-19 was diagnosed in Cameroon. And we have also crossed the bar of 2,000 infected cases in Cameroon. Over to you, studio.
Thank you very much, Gilbert Ongene. Continue nosing for the latest of the 7:30 news, as we're looking forward to having you back here tomorrow when it will be 7:50. You are watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television. Thanks for being there with us. The Justice and Equity Prison Fellowship, GEPF, has donated consignments of face masks, hand sanitizers, and soap to prisons in Boya, Kumba, and Mamfe in the southwest region. The charitable gesture was led by Nana Abuno Mary, retired senior superintendent of police, who called on the prison occupants to support the state in the fight against the spread of the COVID-19 in the southwest region. We have details with Guy Roger Nana.
Prisons, if neglected in times like these, experts say, could be a breeding ground for the coronavirus. This certainly explains why the Justice and Equity Prisons Fellowship, dubbed GEPF, headed by Abuno Nana Marie, retired General Administrator of Prisons, decided to take measures to accompany the inmates and their guards during this period.
We thought it wise not to forget this category of persons who are in prison, including their guards. That's why we thought it wise to go down to the prisons and extend a hand of fellowship by providing them with all these materials.
These donations will go a long way to limit the spread of the coronavirus in prisons if properly used. The head of state, President Paul Biya, had earlier instructed that prisons around the country be decongested in a bid to limit the spread of the coronavirus in prisons all over Cameroon.
Cameroon's Minister of External Relations today summoned the German Chargé d'Affaires to Cameroon to complain about the recent acts of vandalism at the Cameroonian diplomatic missions in Berlin. And for about 30 minutes, the discussions lasted. Jean Mbela denounced the repeated incidents at the Cameroonian diplomatic missions in Germany to the Chargé d'Affaires, Gabriela Bernenman. The minister also summoned the Central African Chargé d'Affaires to Cameroon, Jean-Baptiste Zinali, to denounce COVID-19 comments against Cameroon made by the Central African Republic Health Minister. Both Central African Republic and Germany entertain very cordial relations with Cameroon. A presidential decree of the 4th of May 2020 has reorganized the Electricity Development Corporation, EDC. The decree rather gives EDC the absolute right to produce, sell and electricity to electricity companies in Cameroon. The new status of EDC also gives it the responsibility of constructing and commercializing water-retaining basins to supplicate electricity companies that operate in the country. Joyce Kimbi Fowaju read through the presidential decree and now tells us more.
The Electricity Development Corporation, EDC, has been given full right as the wholesaler for the state in the energy sector. The presidential decree reorganizing the corporation gives it an absolute right to produce and sell electricity to electricity operators in the sector, who will in turn commercialize the energy to clients.
EDC is responsible of operation of hydroelectric plant like Memvele. When we have to build the food plant in Lompanga, we have to operate the food plant and to sell energy to the consumer.
The new status of EDC also gives it full responsibility to construct, operate and collect users' fee on water-retaining basins from electricity companies exploiting them.
It is clear now that EDC in charge of the regularization of the Sanaga River from the river basin like Bakau, Lompanga, Bamanjin and Mape.
The exploitation and commercialization of the emergency energy terminals constructed by the state in Bamenda, Ebolova, Bamayo and Nahala in Yaoundé that were before now being commercialized by the Eneo company has been handed over to EDC following the new status given it by the presidential decree. The company's ability to directly search for investors in the production of energy has been reinforced. The presidential decree reorganizing the EDC company falls within the state's ability to safeguard sectors of sovereignty, such as the electricity sector.
As I was announcing in the headline, the approval of the statutes of the Limbe Autonomous Port and its reorganization by the President of the Republic has been hailed as a milestone for the development of the city and the entire West Cameroon enclave. The creation of the Limbe port, deep sea port was one of the main recommendations of the major national dialogue that held here in Yaoundé in September and October last year. Charles Ebune has been sorting out the political and economic dividends that will accrue from the presidential decision and puts together this package.
And here they are, the approved statutes and reorganized outline of the Limbe Autonomous Port as a major national priority.
This project, as you know, will contribute to the emergence of the city of Limbe as a need expressed by delegates from this region during the national dialogue.
If we have a very good port, very performant in Limbe, will surely be able to attract traffic from Nigeria.
The Limbe Autonomous Port, with a huge natural potential, meets government maritime transport master plan.
The creation of the Limbe Autonomous Port falls in line within the decongestion policy of services in seaside resorts.
Over the years, the economic development catalyst role of the Limbe port has been huge.
The population of Limbe are filled with joy with the creation of this port, which actually shows that the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, always fulfills his promises.
We believe that by creating this port, jobs will be created and people will have more jobs.
Through these documents, President Paul Biya has taken swift action to remain faithful to government policy to bring to more reality the localization of industry policy.
The head of state has already given a go-ahead for the decentralization, and Limbe is now going to be an autonomous port.
Already an industrial city host to the head office of the Cameroon Development Corporation and the National Oil Refinery Corporation, the addition of a seaport to Limbe only makes the city more legendary.
And the youths in the Limbe municipality have expressed gratitude to President Paul Biya for the creation and reorganization of the Limbe Autonomous Port. The message of appreciation was carried out through a jubilant march past from the Limbe Community Field to the City Council. Annabella Ndike Enoanyang completes that story from Limbe.
They marched along the streets with placards bearing messages of appreciation.
I am very happy to hear this great news. At least I'm well with joy.
I wish to thank our President Paul Biya, for what he has done for us.
During the national dialogues, there were things that came in place, like the President promising the Anglophones, more especially, and the youth, that will create more jobs to the youth. And today we are witnessing one of the things that we have been longly awaited.
The government delegate to the Limbe City Council says it is timely.
His cry has been laid to rest. We think that with the putting in place of a deep sea port, with the many companies that will come to build this deep sea port here, it will have employment.
The joy of the people of the Southwest region, analysts argue, can be understood because the seaport has been one of the major priority projects of the region.
Let's talk now on more light-hearted issues. There has been yet the birth of another set of triplets at the Yaoundé Hospital Center for Applied Research on Endoscopic Surgery and Human Reproduction, CRTV. A coincidence of coincidence, as the triplets are born on the 6th of May, a day on which the center is celebrating the anniversary of its inaugural by First Lady, Madame Chantal Biya. These triplets now bring to 5 the number of children delivered today at this health establishment. And Nagakibi reports.
The cry of triplets, all boys at Crasset this morning, was received as a welcome relief to the entire medical staff following the dark clouds of the COVID-19 pandemic that has been creating uncertainty over the face of the earth. A happy event that coincides with the 4th anniversary of this hospital center, inaugurated by Mrs. Chantal Bia, the matron, on the 6th of May 2016. The high-risk pregnancy of the triplets was hitch-free.
We shouldn't be always sad. COVID is a side news. But beside this side news, we should have a happy news too.
And the happy mother named them immediately after birth: Raphael, Gabriel, and Michel Archange.
Merci au président de la République, son excellent Monsieur Paul Biya.
Thank you, President Paul Biya. Thank you, Madame Chantal Biya.
Merci.
Thank you, Professor Cassia and your team.
À toute son équipe.
The 32-year-old mother of the triplets had her first 3 children during the early years of marriage and later faced procreation problems. Birth with Professor Cassia and the technique of the in vitro fertilization, her 4th delivery turned out to be triplets, giving her a total of 6 children. Next in line was the birth of a set of twin babies, a boy and a girl, bringing the total number of babies today at Crasset to 5.
Doing a cesarean section in 20 minutes, this is a common situation, and this is the best place to perform this type of surgery.
Celebrating the birth of these babies on this 4th anniversary of the hospital against the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic is an indication that with Crasset there is hope in the horizon.
The 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television. That's the way it was. Thanks for the privilege of your company. Good night.
CRTV News, ici